Since 2015, the nature of our relationship with Australia is one of comprehensive partnership. And then, as you may recall, in September, on September 8th last year, we have elevated that to a strategic partnership. And so this is where we are right now. I think the circumstances favor it. For one, Australia wanted a deeper engagement with Southeast Asia. And then it also coincides, of course, with our goal in the Philippines to really reach out to like-minded countries like Australia. Having this strategic partnership, we are focused, of course, on defense and security, but it's just not that. I think one of the most telling aspects of the strategic partnership is on the geo-economic side. And this is important because for the longest time, you know, while we have economic and trade relations with Australia, I think marami pa tayong magagawa together. And this will benefit both Philippines and Australia. So while here in Canberra, maybe the discussions will be more on political and security because of the expected address of the President at the Parliament, we may be seeing some other side activities which has a bilateral component pagdating doon sa ASEAN-Australia Special Summit in Melbourne. So I look forward to that. I'd like to see an increase of our economic relations, trade relations, and see more growth. I think for the last 5 years or so, it's about 17% yung growth natin. But sa tingin ko, marami pa tayong magagawa together. I think New Philippines or Bagong Pilipinas, my understanding is a master plan for transformation, for our national transformation. That means the transformation of our economy, the transformation of our government, the transformation of our people. So in that sense, I'd like to say that in this new cycle of our plan of action between the Philippines and Australia, where we're looking at the strategic partnership, dito natin makikita na in sync ang assistance and support na ibinibigay ng Australia. Because under the new cycle of the plan of action, we're looking at new areas of cooperation, but mostly on capacity building. So whether it be on law and justice, or in law enforcement, or even on sustainable development, and even on issues like next month, no, it's going to be International Women's Month. Itong women, peace, and security is an important area of collaboration and its application to new challenges like related to climate change, related to cyber, and even on areas related to maritime security. So I think that that would be a very important support that Australia is giving us to help realize our Bagong Pilipinas mantra. The visit of the President to Australia is historic. I say that because he will be the first Philippine President to address the Australian Federal Parliament. And he's coming at a time when the region is needs collective cooperation and resiliency to address what's happening in terms of the challenges. It's not just in the political or defense and security aspect, but even in the economic or even in transnational concerns such as climate change, cybersecurity. And I think that with this, I mentioned this earlier, but with this strategic partnership and the new cycle of the joint plan of action that we are implementing to realize further this excellent relationship, makikita natin na we can be very positive na truly our relationship with Australia will be transformed. And I do not wish to second guess what he's going to say, but then because it is looking at the new areas that we can cooperate into in the strategic partnership, one can say that he'd probably look at his vision of cooperation in areas that like probably on maritime, drawn from our long-standing friendship between the Philippines and Australia. The ASEAN-Australia Summit is actually a commemoration of the 50 years of the dialogue relations between ASEAN and Australia. And of course, the Philippines is a founding member of ASEAN. So because it's 50 years, you can expect that the leaders will probably look at the next partnership in the future. And I'd like to see that, I'd like to say that in this ASEAN-Australia Summit, before the leaders meet, there are more or less, my understanding is 4 thematic tracks on business, on climate and clean energy, and then on emerging leaders, and on maritime cooperation. So itong 4 thematic tracks na to, dito magbi-build yung leaders' discussion. So I'd like to think that the leaders will probably focus their discussions and deliberations on how these 4 thematic tracks can bring about a stronger partnership for the future between ASEAN and Australia. The Philippines is a founding member of ASEAN, and I think from the time we joined ASEAN, we have always been focused on dialogue, on diplomacy, and making sure that our other ASEAN partners are aligned with our own thinking. And so looking ahead, I'd like to think that under the leadership of the President, I think what is most striking now is that we wanted a more, a greater implementation on the rules-based order. And of course, the strength of the regional institutions and a strong advocacy for ASEAN centrality as well. Based on recent statistics, we have about 408,000 plus Filipinos or the Filipino community here in Australia, and that would include Australians of Filipino descent. And of course, they are into different fields of endeavor. Some of them work in the hotel industry. Some of them are, of course, in the most sought after, like in the healthcare industry. And others are into other professions, skilled and semi-skilled workers. A new dynamic is the increase in the number of Filipino students here in Australia. So, and of course, also the increasing number of engagements involving the private sector. We now have the Philippine-Australian Business Council that's based in the Philippines, but it has its own counterpart here, the Australia-Philippine Business Council. And of course, we have the Australian-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce. So these entities, together with the earlier cohort that I mentioned, make up our Filipino community. And of course, the religious as well. We have an increasing number of Filipino priests here in Australia, especially here in the Australian Capital Territory. The impact of the President's visit to the Filipino community, I think, is also historic and pioneering. There is, of course, an expectation that itong ating goals, strategic goals sa bansa natin ay magiging matutupad o marirealized. But I'd like to say that the agency is not just for the government to do their part. Kailangan din tayong mga kababayan natin tayo rin ay may responsibility na tumulong para ito ay ma-realized. Sa panahon ngayon, and most other countries do this, they have an agency. Yung mga tao nila, ang population, is already participating in this effort. So, in simple terms, what I'm trying to say is look individually, look at ourselves. What can we do to help? What can we do to show our compassion? What can we do to show our commitment to help the country? And what can we do to demonstrate that we are competent enough to really demonstrate I think that the vision, I share the vision of the President, and I think I'd like to see that we as Philippines are able to take our rightful place in the scheme of the international community of nations. Kasi ano na yan parang long overdue. And we hope that we can do that under the stewardship of President Marcos Jr. with this bagong Pilipinas.